In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NBA games happening on February 9th, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start, if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Atlanta Hawks vs. Minnesota Timberwolves. The Atlanta Hawks visit the Minnesota Timberwolves at Target Center on Monday night, and this one has a sneaky volatile feel to it given where both teams are mentally right now. Atlanta just beat the Jazz, then fell short against the Hornets, and they see the Hornets again next. But overall, they have still taken 6 of their last 9, which shows they are quietly trending in the right direction. Minnesota is in a more uneven spot, coming off losses to the Pelicans and Clippers with the Trail Blazers up next. And even though they have won 5 of their last 8, the recent performances have raised a few eyebrows. The Hawks are monitoring Dyson Daniels, who is questionable, so there is at least some uncertainty around their backcourt rotation. The Timberwolves remain without Terrence Shannon Jr., which does not completely change their identity but does cut into their depth on the wing. Atlanta opens as a road underdog, which everyone expected given the venue and the general perception of Minnesota, but the Hawks have been playing decent basketball lately and they know it. They nearly knocked off a red-hot Hornets team in their last outing, so they will not be intimidated by a Timberwolves squad that has looked wobbly and is stepping into this game on 0 days rest. Minnesota is working through a draining stretch in the schedule, playing the second leg of a back-to-back and their third game in 4 nights, and the last 2 results were brutal. The Timberwolves blew an 18-point second-half lead to the struggling Pelicans on Friday, then came back home and got absolutely run off the floor by the Clippers on Sunday. That kind of emotional and physical toll is not exactly the formula you want when facing a confident road team with fresh legs. They are just 1-3 straight up in their last 4 and 5-8 in their last 13, which paints the picture of a team that has not quite steadied itself for a while. Atlanta is far from flawless, but it is more than capable of taking advantage of an opponent that looks this vulnerable. The Hawks did make some noise before the trade deadline, yet their starting 5 remains mostly the same group that has been together all season, and key reserves like CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert already have plenty of game time with this version of the roster. That continuity matters, and you can see it in their recent 6-3 run over the last 9 games, where the offense and rotations feel fairly settled. Home court has not been a huge safety net for Minnesota either, with a respectable but not overwhelming 17-9 record at Target Center this season, while the Hawks actually boast a stronger mark on the road at 16-13 compared to just 10-15 at home. Here is the thing, the Timberwolves have a bad habit of playing with their food, letting opponents hang around and occasionally stealing games they have no business losing, and they are coming off exactly that kind of pair of losses as heavy favorites. Playing again immediately after those setbacks does not suddenly fix the issues. Atlanta already smacked Minnesota on New Year's Eve, and the Hawks have covered 9 of the last 10 meetings between these teams, which is not nothing when you are trying to read the dynamic of the matchup. They have genuinely played their best basketball away from home, with those 16 road wins backing that up. Not saying the Hawks absolutely win outright here, but taking the points as a pure fade of the shaky Timberwolves spot makes a lot of sense. As our first pick for this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Atlanta is averaging 117.4 points per game on 47.3% shooting, while giving up 118.3 points on 47.6% shooting, which tells you their games often turn into up and down affairs. The Hawks are knocking down 37.3% from beyond the arc and 77.3% at the free throw line, and they are grabbing 42.3 rebounds per game, which helps fuel both second chance looks and transition opportunities. They allow opponents to hit 35.5% from deep, so there are usually clean perimeter looks both ways, which can create quick scoring bursts when shots are falling. Minnesota is putting up 119.5 points on 48.1% shooting and allowing 114.8 points on 46.3% shooting, so on paper it looks like another offense-friendly team with enough scoring options to fill it up. The Timberwolves are shooting 37.6% from 3, which is right in line with a strong perimeter attack, and 74.8% from the free throw line, while pulling down 45 rebounds per game to control the glass more often than not. They are allowing 35.7% from beyond the arc, again suggesting that both offenses can find space on the outside when possessions are organized and legs are fresh. At first glance, the numbers hint at a high-scoring environment, but context matters quite a bit here. Minnesota is playing its third game in 4 nights and the second straight night, which often leads to slower pace stretches, more tired legs on jumpers, and a little more half-court slog than the raw stats suggest. Even if both sides have capable shooters, fatigue can turn open looks into front rim misses, and coaches tend to shorten the game a bit in these spots with more deliberate sets and fewer wild track meet sequences. Atlanta's offense is strong, but it can still go through patches of inconsistency, and if the Hawks sense that the best path is to make Minnesota grind in the half-court against set defenses, the overall tempo can come down. With both teams capable of scoring and both defenses giving up respectable percentages, it would be easy to expect fireworks across 4 quarters. However, when you blend the travel, the back-to-back spot, and the likelihood of some choppy rhythm, the total project's more like a game that lands under rather than one that completely turns into a shootout from start to finish. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Cleveland Cavaliers versus Denver Nuggets. The Cleveland Cavaliers roll into Ball Arena to take on the Denver Nuggets on Monday night, and this one feels like it has a little extra weight to it. Cleveland is coming off wins over the Kings and Clippers, with the Wizards up next, and they have now taken 15 of their last 20, which is a huge heater in this league. Denver just dropped a game to the Knicks, bounced back by beating the Bulls, and will see the Grizzlies after this, with 11 wins in their last 18 giving them a slightly uneven but still solid stretch. The Cavaliers are dealing with their share of injuries, with Max Strus and Evan Mobley already ruled out, while Jalen Tyson and Dean Wade sit on the questionable list. On the other side, the Nuggets will be without Aaron Gordon, Spencer Jones, and Peyton Watson, and they are watching Jamal Murray's status closely as he is listed as questionable too. Even with the bumps and bruises, Cleveland has been rolling, surviving a bit of a scare in their last outing but continuing to play high-level basketball despite the absences. They should only get better as James Harden grows more comfortable and fully settles into his role with this group. Denver, in contrast, had been wobbling before they finally blew past the Bulls in a much-needed confidence boost on Saturday. They know they still are not completely right, but they also know that a home game in their building is a good spot to steady things, especially if Murray is able to give it a go. Here is the thing, the Cavaliers are absolutely playing their best ball of the season right now, and adding Harden clearly raises their ceiling, so it is easy to see why people are tempted by them even in a tough environment. The Nuggets, though, even while short-handed, are still a tough fade at home when the number stays relatively soft. Ball Arena is a difficult place to operate for visiting teams, with the altitude, the crowd, and the fact that Denver usually plays with a different comfort level in their own building. On top of that, the Nuggets will almost certainly have the best player on the floor, and that matters a lot late in tight games when possessions slow down and every decision is magnified. There is also the revenge angle, with Denver getting another shot at a Cavaliers team that edged them in a close one last month, and those spots tend to sharpen focus just a little more. Cleveland as a short number against an undermanned Nuggets squad may look enticing on the surface, but when you factor in the setting, the star power, and the chance to answer that previous loss, it becomes easier to lean toward the home side. In a virtual pick'em type situation that you simply do not see often with Denver at home, backing the Nuggets as the slight underdog feels like the right way to go. As our first pick for this matchup, the Denver Nuggets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Cavaliers are averaging 119.2 points per game on 47% shooting from the field, while allowing 116.9 points on 46.4% shooting. They are hitting 35.5% from three-point range and 78.2% at the free throw line, and they are collecting 44.8 rebounds per game, which helps them sustain possessions and limit second-chance opportunities for opponents. At the same time, they are allowing 37.8% shooting from deep, which means opposing teams have been able to find success from the perimeter fairly often. Denver's offensive profile is even more explosive on paper, with the Nuggets averaging 120.7 points on an efficient 49.6% from the field, while giving up 116.2 points on 46.8% shooting. They are drilling 39.5% of their attempts from beyond the arc and hitting 81.8% at the strike, a strong combination that makes it tough to slow them down when they are locked in. They grab 42.3 rebounds per game and hold opponents to 35% shooting from three, which shows at least some resistance on the perimeter even while the overall scoring against them remains relatively high. At first glance, with both teams clearing well over 115 points per game and giving up north of 116, you might expect a full-on shootout with very little defensive resistance. However, the context of the matchup and the way these games tend to play out in a building like Ball Arena can pull things in a slightly different direction. High-level opponents, potential fatigue, and playoff-style intensity often lead to more deliberate possessions, especially as the game wears on and both coaching staffs lean on half-court sets rather than constant run-and-gun stretches. Cleveland's scoring numbers are strong, but some of that production has come in more up-tempo spots, and with injuries trimming their rotation, there can be more emphasis on controlling tempo and avoiding a track meet in a difficult road environment. Denver, for all its offensive firepower, is also capable of tightening the screws situationally, especially at home. And if the game becomes more about execution than pure pace, the total number of possessions can dip just enough to matter. With both teams still scoring efficiently but having reasons to value control and shot quality, the result is more likely to resemble a competitive, selectively high-level offensive game rather than a constant scoring frenzy. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Philadelphia 76ers versus Portland Trail Blazers. The Philadelphia 76ers head into Mata Center to face the Portland Trail Blazers on Monday night, wrapping up what has already been a demanding swing out west. They just beat the Suns, dropped one to the Lakers before that, and have the Knicks waiting next. But big picture, they have still won 14 of their last 20 games, which tells you how strong this overall run has been. Portland, on the other side, is coming off a loss to the Suns followed by a win over the Grizzlies, with the Timberwolves next on the schedule, yet the Blazers have still dropped 6 of their last 8, so they are very much searching for consistency. Philadelphia might not be at full strength, with Joel Embiid listed as questionable because of right knee injury management, so there is at least a chance they have to adjust on the fly. Portland already knows it will be missing Shaedon Sharpe and Chris Murray again, while Robert Williams III and Denny Avdija are both questionable, which clouds what their rotation will look like. These teams have not seen each other yet this season, but the 76ers step into this matchup looking like one of the hotter groups in the league and riding the confidence of that solid win in Phoenix. After that brief stumble in Los Angeles, the 76ers got right back to their usual level, and with 3 wins in the first 4 games of this 5-game road trip, they can already call it a successful week. Finishing it off with another victory in Portland would feel like tying a ribbon around the whole stretch, especially given the travel and the opponents they have faced. The numbers tilt their way too, with a 15-9 straight-up mark in road games this season and a positive recent record in this matchup, taking 4 of the last 6 meetings between the franchises. On top of that, outside of concerns at point guard, this lineup has been relatively intact lately, which helps the chemistry and structure stay tight. For Portland, the health situation has been a constant headache. Denny Avdija, their best player right now, has been dealing with that back issue and has not played at all so far in February. With the All-Star break approaching, it would not be surprising if the team leans toward more rest for him rather than forcing a quick return. Yes, the Blazers managed to beat the Grizzlies in back-to-back games without him, but with Memphis clearly not chasing wins at the moment, those victories do not tell you much about how Portland stacks up against locked-in, playoff-level opponents. Before those 2 wins, Portland had lost 6 straight, and 5 of those defeats came at the hands of Eastern Conference teams, which is not ideal considering who they are facing here. They have covered the spread just once in their last 6 overall, and against Atlantic Division teams specifically, they sit at 1-5 straight up in 6 games, another sign that these cross-conference matchups have not treated them well. Meanwhile, the 76ers have clearly found a new rhythm with Embiid back in a steady groove, playing and producing at a high level night after night when he is in the lineup. Portland ranks in the bottom half of the league in points allowed in the paint, and that is exactly where Embiid does most of his work, whether he is facing up or punishing smaller bodies on the block. He has piled up 37, 35, 39, 32, and 35 points over the last 5 meetings against this team, which paints a pretty clear picture of how tough it has been for the Blazers to slow him down. Portland's brief spark against a severely depleted Grizzlies group does not erase the cold stretch that came before it, and it does not suddenly make them a reliable threat against a focused and confident 76ers squad. Philadelphia has been the steadier, more trustworthy side for weeks, and this spot sets up nicely for them to close the trip the right way. As our first pick for this matchup, the Philadelphia 76ers to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Philadelphia 76ers are averaging 116.8 points on 46% shooting and allowing 115.3 points on 46.9% shooting. They are knocking down 36% of their attempts from beyond the arc and 81.4% at the free throw line, while pulling in 43.8 rebounds per game, which helps them control the glass and limit extended runs from opponents. They give up 35.4% shooting from deep, which is not brutal but does leave some room for opposing shooters to find a rhythm when the defense slips. The Portland Trail Blazers are averaging 115.3 points on 44.8% shooting and allowing 118.1 points on 47.3% shooting. They are hitting 33.6% from three-point range and 77.1% from the free throw line, with 45.7 rebounds per game giving them chances to extend possessions and push off missed shots. Defensively, they allow 35.8% from beyond the arc, so both teams are sitting in a similar zone when it comes to how much space they give up on the perimeter. Philadelphia's offense is efficient enough to put up solid numbers even when the pace is not blazing, especially with their combination of three-point shooting and strong free throw accuracy helping them squeeze value out of each trip. Portland can score, but with key pieces in and out of the lineup, the flow can get choppy, and that often leads to stretches of forced shots and longer empty trips. When a team sits in the bottom half of the league in areas like paint protection, it can also lead to fouls that slow the game down, turning some possessions into slower walks to the line instead of constant up and down action. Statistically, both defenses allow more than they would like, yet the context of this particular matchup, with the 76ers closing a long road trip and the Blazers juggling injuries again, leans toward a pace that is a bit more controlled than chaotic. If Philadelphia leans into deliberate half-court sets to exploit mismatches inside and Portland struggles to maintain clean offensive rhythm for 4 quarters, the total number of quality scoring chances can be kept in check, even if individual stretches feature solid efficiency. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Memphis Grizzlies versus Golden State Warriors. The Memphis Grizzlies roll into Chase Center to face the Golden State Warriors on Monday night, and it is one of those games where both sides come with a lot of baggage. Memphis just beat the Kings, then turned around and lost to the Trail Blazers, with the Nuggets up next on the schedule, and they have dropped 14 of their last 20, so the bigger picture still looks rough. Golden State is coming off a loss to the Lakers, a solid win over the Suns, and has the Spurs on deck, with 15 wins in their last 25 showing a team that has been decent but far from steady. The Grizzlies are still without Brandon Clark, Zach Edey, and Jay Morant, which keeps a huge chunk of their core on the shelf, but there is at least some good news with Santi Aldama, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Cedric Coward all having a chance to get back into the lineup. The Warriors, on the other hand, are missing Stephen Curry, Seth Curry, Jimmy Butler III, and Kristaps Porzingis, so their star power and rotation depth are gutted in their own way. Memphis should get a nice lift from those returning pieces, even if the absence of Morant and the recent trade of Jaren Jackson Jr. still leave a big hole in their offensive identity. Golden State is also far from whole, and while they were competitive in a tight loss to the Lakers, they are still leaning on a patchwork group, which is one reason they are home favorites but not exactly inspiring blind trust. Honestly, backing the Grizzlies right now is not anyone's idea of fun because the roster is beat up and the franchise feels like it is leaning into a development and lottery-focused season. At the same time, the Warriors have turned into a team that can look sharp one night and completely flat the next, especially with so many key players sidelined, and that up-and-down pattern makes it tough to feel good about laying a big number. Memphis has quietly covered 3 of its last 4 games, which at least shows they are still competing hard enough to hang around spreads even while the losses pile up in the straight-up column. In a matchup where both teams are shorthanded, one side is being asked to win by margin, and the other has just enough fresh legs and new faces back to make things annoying. Grabbing the points does not feel crazy at all. This might not be the most attractive game on the board, but with Golden State this banged up, it is tough to justify trusting them to win comfortably, no matter how much you like their brand name. As our first pick for this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Memphis Grizzlies are averaging 115.3 points on 45.6% shooting and allowing 117 points on 46.5% shooting. They are hitting 34.9% from beyond the arc and 79.9% at the free throw line, while pulling down 45.8 rebounds per game, which helps them compete on the glass even with key players missing. Defensively, they allow 35.8% shooting from deep, so opponents do get clean looks from outside, and that can push scores up when the other team is healthy and in rhythm. The Golden State Warriors are averaging 116.2 points on 46.1% shooting and allowing 114 points on 47% shooting. They are knocking down 36.5% of their three-point attempts and 81.2% at the stripe, and they grab 42.7 rebounds per game, which usually keeps them in the fight in terms of second-chance opportunities. They are giving up 35.4% from long range, which is similar to Memphis, so both defenses are vulnerable to outside shooting when rotations are late or closeouts are lazy. On paper, those numbers lean toward plenty of offense, but the current reality for both squads has to be part of the conversation. Memphis is trying to reshape itself on the fly after the Jackson trade and without Morant, which often leads to slower, more disjointed possessions as new combinations figure things out. Even with some players returning, the chemistry is not automatic, and that can show up as hesitant ball movement, late shot clock attempts, and fewer easy transition buckets. Golden State is missing so many playmakers and scorers that their own attack is likely to stall in stretches, relying more on role players to create looks that Curry or other stars usually generate. Games like this can end up feeling more grindy than the season averages suggest, with both coaches tightening rotations, leaning on whoever they trust defensively, and living with a bit of an ugly flow. When you combine shaky rhythm, patchwork lineups, and the possibility of more half-court possessions instead of constant run and gun, the path toward a lower overall score becomes easier to see. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Oklahoma City Thunder versus Los Angeles Lakers. The Oklahoma City Thunder visit Crypto.com Arena to take on the Los Angeles Lakers on Monday night, and it feels like both teams are heading in opposite emotional directions right now. The Thunder are coming off losses to the Spurs and Rockets, with the Suns next on the schedule, but they still have that crazy run of 44 wins in their last 57 regular season games sitting in the background. The Lakers, meanwhile, just beat the Warriors, and the 76ers also have the Spurs up next, and they have taken 8 of their last 11, so the mood around them is quietly pretty upbeat. Oklahoma City is still without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they are watching the status of Jalen Williams and Ajay Mitchell, which makes their backcourt and overall creation a little shaky. The Lakers are waiting on updates for Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton, both listed as day-to-day, so there is some suspense around who actually suits up. The Thunder have been juggling injuries most of the year, but nothing really slowed them down until Gilgeous-Alexander sat, and you can feel how much his absence changes their ceiling. That gives the improving Lakers a real chance to catch them at a vulnerable moment, especially on their own floor. Losing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has clearly thrown Oklahoma City Thunder off stride, and suddenly a team that rarely drops games is staring at back-to-back losses. For most franchises, 2 straight defeats is nothing special, but for the defending champs sitting at 40-13 straight up, it feels jarring when the wheels wobble even a little. Despite this small skid, they arrive in Los Angeles as favorites, hoping to make it 2-0 in the regular season series after that 121-92 win back in mid-November. They have not lost 3 in a row yet this season, and you can pretty much count on them playing with an extra edge to avoid that mark. The Lakers, on the other hand, come in full of belief after stringing together 3 wins. Playing without Luka was not as damaging as many expected, at least not against a team like the Warriors, who they handled 105-99. Los Angeles has only played 22 home games compared to 29 on the road, so they are finally staring at a more favorable stretch in their own building, and staying locked in now is huge. The offense has not fallen apart without Doncic the way people thought it might. Austin Reeves is back from injury and doing his best to patch the gaps Luka left behind. And with Luke Kennard added to the mix, the Lakers should get a noticeable bump from three-point range. The Thunder will still be favored simply because they are the Thunder and their body of work is that strong. However, they have not been the spread-covering machine they were in the past. Oklahoma City Thunder sits at 25 to 27 to 1 against the spread this season, which tells you the market has adjusted and maybe even overcorrected at times. They have also dropped 3 of their last 6 outright when laying 5 or more points, which is not exactly what you want to see when you are asked to win by margin again. The Lakers might be down Luka, but they are 7-3 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 games. They are holding their position in the standings and absolutely have to squeeze value out of spots like this if they want to keep climbing. Oklahoma City Thunder, without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and coming off a quick turnaround, just feels more fragile than usual. Honestly, the Thunder might be the smart number side on paper, but the Lakers are not drawing dead here at all, even with injuries. They have home court. The Thunder just played yesterday and lost to the Rockets, and there has been almost no time for real rest or detailed prep on the Oklahoma City Thunder side. Los Angeles has covered 6 times in 8 home games recently, which fits the picture of a team that is starting to turn their own arena back into a real advantage. As our first pick for this matchup, the Los Angeles Lakers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. The Oklahoma City Thunder are averaging 120.9 points on 49.2% shooting and allowing 107.9 points on 43.2% shooting. The Oklahoma City Thunder are shooting 35.9% from beyond the arc and 82.4% from the free throw line. The Oklahoma City Thunder are allowing 37.3% shooting from deep and are grabbing 43.6 rebounds per game. Even without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that overall offensive profile hints at a team that can still score in bunches when the ball is moving and role players step into bigger usage. They generate good looks, they get to the line, and they usually rebound well enough to squeeze out second chance points. The Los Angeles Lakers bring plenty of firepower of their own. The Los Angeles Lakers are averaging 116.3 points on 49.8% shooting and allowing 116.2 points on 48.5% shooting. The Los Angeles Lakers are shooting 34.9% from beyond the arc and 76.7% from the free throw line. The Los Angeles Lakers are allowing 36.9% shooting from deep and are grabbing 41.3 rebounds per game. That combination of almost 50% shooting from the field and respectable three-point and free throw numbers means their offense can stay afloat even if they are missing a star. Defensively, though, both teams give up clean looks from outside, with each side allowing opponents to sit in the mid to high 30% range from deep. Here is the thing, when you put those profiles together, you get a matchup that sets up nicely for points. Oklahoma City Thunder likes to play at a good tempo, and even with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out, the system encourages pace and quick decisions. The Lakers, especially at home, are comfortable running when they can, and with guys like Reeves and Kennard stepping into larger roles, the perimeter spacing should help avoid those long, ugly scoring droughts. Neither defense projects has a shutdown unit in this spot, and both offenses have efficient shooting baked into their identity. With the Thunder still capable of stretching the floor and the Lakers getting quality looks around the basket and from deep, it would not be surprising to see long stretches where the scoreboard moves quickly. Even if there are brief lulls, the overall numbers point to enough shot making and enough possessions to keep the total on the higher side. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.